Some Friends debates are eternal, like whether Ross Geller and Rachel Green were really on a break and who actually wrote the Dr. Monkey joke. While matters like those may never get settled, the Friends fan community has managed to put together some very workable theories about other unresolved elements of the series. Let's take a look at some of those Friends theories that might actually be true. Secret lovers. There was never any question that Phoebe and Joey had a special bond. They enjoyed each other's company, no matter how weird the activities, and they were also known to flirt quite often.
Hey, how you doing?
But despite the others pairing off into convenient couples, these two wildcards never quite take it there, apart from sharing a few stray kisses along the way. However, there's a very good chance that the two took comfort in each other's arms when no one else was looking. After all, the heat between them was always very authentic. And the two always seem to have a running inside joke in play that the others aren't privy to. Phoebe also seems to get especially offended whenever someone insults him.
Hey! You could do a lot worse than Joey Tribbiani!
As it turns out, actor Matt LeBlanc even pitched the idea of exposing a secret sexual history during the show's run. He told People magazine, "Towards the end, we actually pitched the idea that Joey and Phoebe had been having casual sex the entire time. We'd go back and shoot all the historical scenes, and just before a moment that everyone recognizes, there's Joey and Phoebe coming out of a broom closet together. But they were like, nah. Hey, just because we didn't see it play out in an episode doesn't mean we can't figure out where such scenes would belong in the next binge session."
You think you and I should hook up?
We do, but not just yet.
Low-key hero. Another theory that seems to check out is that the bleach-haired barista Gunther was the one who made sure all of Rachel's friends had prime seating at Central Perk every day. It was unusual for the sextet not to have the big orange couch to themselves. And the early episodes show a visible reserve sign posted on the coffee table to explain away their constant domination of the comfy spot. The theory is that as a gesture of his affection for Rachel, Gunther makes sure the spot is always ready for her and her friends when she wasn't working to save it for them. Otherwise, it's hard to believe that such prime seating would almost always be available to them, no matter how many cups of espresso Chandler buys. Subtle genius. One of the all-time best moments on Friends is when Phoebe masterfully corners Ross into walking back on his claim that evolution was a scientifically proven fact rather than a working theory.
Can't believe you caved.
What?
You just abandoned your whole belief system.
And that's just one of several scenes where Phoebe surprised her pals and audiences alike with some extremely intellectual ideas.
I like to think of myself as the puppet master of the group.
As a result, some fans have come to the conclusion that she's a secret genius. Consider how she speaks French and Italian on command.
Lei si bellina. Certo, sì.
Wow, Phoebes, you speak Italian?
I guess so.
She also has very astute observations about classical literature, despite her lack of formal education. And she has an appreciation for very eccentric forms of art and music. Plus, she is self-taught in activities such as guitar, and learned to survive the mean streets as a young girl on her own. Perhaps she said it best herself when she told us,
I may play the fool at times, but I'm a little more than just a pretty blonde girl with an ass that won't quit.
Maybe her missing middle name was actually Einstein. Cold feet fever dream. Rachel's decision to leave Barry at the altar is the catalyst that ultimately brings the friends together. So there are some who believe she may have simply imagined everything that happened to the six of them, including her own happy ending with Ross, in a moment of all-consuming doubt over her pending nuptials. She's certainly been known to daydream in the past, and her imagination has proven to be rather vivid. She also did know Monica, Ross, and Chandler for years beforehand, and she certainly knew that Ross had a major crush on her back in high school. So, it stands to reason their whole star-crossed lovers routine may have been dreamed up long before she ever stepped foot in that coffee house. If true, that must have been some gravy boat she was looking at before her wedding. Deadbeat dad. After Friends' 8th season, we never get to see Ben Geller again. As far as we know, no harm has come to Ross's eldest child, but once Emma comes into the picture, Ben disappears from the show for good. The actresses portraying Ben's moms think the pair simply moved the family to England and raised Ben with some new adoptive siblings across the pond. But some fans believe there's a more sinister story afoot. The theory is that at some point Carol and Susan had enough and filed to have Ross's parental rights reduced or perhaps even eliminated. Maybe it was after all they taught him all those pranks or when Ross had a nervous breakdown, or maybe it's just a matter of how little time he actually spent with Ben. The fact that Ross is also constantly getting married and divorced may be ammunition for the pair to prove he provides an unstable home life. And when he impregnates Rachel and has her move into his apartment while he's dating someone else, that may very well be the last straw. That fire was no accident. The firefighters who investigate the blaze at Rachel and Phoebe's apartment may think it's Rachel's hair straightener that sparked the fire, but some Friends fans believe the blaze may not be accidental. When Phoebe decides to start collecting her twin sister's paychecks from her career as an adult film star as payback for Ursula using Phoebe's name, she may have just given her home address to some sick and twisted individuals. Perhaps these people lost money on the deal and decided to scare her a little by planting the straightener in a position that could burn the house down as a message to Phoebe. The fact that both events happen within the span of 2 episodes certainly seems to support this sinister theory. Case studies. Phoebe Buffay might seem like the only one of the group with mental health issues, but if you look closely enough, each and every one of the 6 friends has some particular emotional or mental affliction that they have to work through on the show. Monica has major insecurity issues thanks to her parents, and that later manifests in some very obsessive-compulsive tendencies. And Ross seems to exist in a perpetual state of depression after Carol leaves him, resulting in unbridled jealousy and massive relationship troubles. Not to mention there's his whole rage out at work episode that lands him in therapy.
You threw my sandwich away. My sandwich! My sandwich!
Meanwhile, Rachel's a little narcissistic and obviously has some kind of complex about dating doctors like her dad. And Chandler has such severe social anxiety that his entire personality is a defense mechanism.
It's really funny. I wouldn't want to be there when the laughter stops.
Joey might just be a nymphomaniac, and Phoebe has some moments of obvious delusion and freely admits to being a little schizophrenic.
I can hear traffic and birds. I can hear the voices in my head again.
If the theory holds, apartments 20 and 21 may very well have been the unit numbers of their group hall at a long-term treatment facility, which would certainly explain the giant community-sized apartment space. Thanks for watching. Click the Nikki Swift icon to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Plus, check out all this cool stuff we know you'll love too.